A new bill has been introduced into Congress, which aims to completely remove short-barreled rifles from the restrictions of the NFA. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Kershaw Knives. Kershaw manufactures close to 1 million knives in their US factory every single year. Kershaw produces a broad range of knives to meet every single person's needs. You can get a $20 Walmart knife all the way up to a $200 US made automatic knife. And just recently, Kershaw dropped their new 2023 line, which includes a US made OTF automatic knife. Kershaw always makes high quality, durable, and aesthetically pleasing knives that I actually use every single day for my EDC. So I highly recommend Kershaw Knives, and right now if you order and you use the code 20Scholar, you can get 20% off of your order and free shipping on orders of $100 or more, and that offer lasts until May 1st. So head on over to Kershaw Knives, use that code, and thank you again to Kershaw Knives for sponsoring this video. How's it going, everyone? My name is Anthony Miranda. I am a licensed and practicing attorney in City, California, with an emphasis on Second Amendment rights. I've been part of Second Amendment litigation both at a national level and a state level, while serving as a staff attorney with the Firearms Policy Coalition legal team. My goal with these videos is not to provide you any legal advice, but instead to help you understand what's currently going on with the battle for our right to keep and bear arms. As I mentioned in the intro, in this video we will be discussing a new bill which has been introduced into Congress, and it aims to completely remove SBRs or short-barreled rifles from the National Firearms Act or the NFA, and therefore prevent the ATF from being able to regulate these types of firearms. The bill we will be talking about in this video is HR 173, and it's also known as the Home Defense and Competitive Shooting Act of 2023. This bill was introduced by Representative Griffith out of Virginia, and the bill currently has 7 other co-sponsors. The goal of this bill is to remove short-barreled rifles from the definition of firearms for the purposes of the National Firearms Act. That means that once removed, the ATF and the federal government will no longer have regulatory authority over these types of firearms. This bill also aims to eliminate other prohibitions on these types of firearms, including like the transportation restrictions. The text of the bill states that Section 922 of Title 18 of the United States Code is amended in each of the subsections A4 and B4 by striking short-barreled shotguns or short-barreled rifle and inserting or short-barreled shotgun. So that is the operative language that would strike the term short-barreled rifle from the language of the NFA. The bill goes on to state that Section 927 of Title 18 United States Code is amended by adding at the end of the following, notwithstanding the preceding sentence, a law of a state or a political subdivision of a state that imposes a tax other than a generally applicable sales or use tax on making, transferring, using, possessing, or transporting a short-barreled rifle in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce, or imposes a marking, record-keeping, or registration requirement with respect to such a rifle, shall have no force or effect. This essentially means that this bill will preempt state or local laws from imposing any tax on SBRs or requiring registration requirements or other types of requirements. So not only will this bill remove the federal restrictions, but it will also prevent states and localities from trying to do these types of restrictions on their own. Then the bill also does something very important, which is that it requires no later than 365 days from the enactment of the bill for all records regarding prior registered SBRs to be completely destroyed. So that's something else very important. If this bill were to pass, the ATF and the government must destroy all SBR records. Bills like this are becoming more and more important because of recent ATF overreach. For example, many of you are aware that recently the ATF dropped their new rule on pistol braces, and this bill and many others are being introduced in a direct response to that action. Under the new rule, the ATF modified the regulatory definition of a rifle under the NFA so that almost all pistols with a brace attached will now be considered to actually be short-barreled rifles and therefore subject to the NFA's restrictions. The ATF modified the definition of a rifle so that now it will actually read that a weapon that is equipped with an accessory, component, or other rearward attachment, i.e. a stabilizing brace, that provides surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder, provided other factors, which indicate that the weapon is designed, made, and intended to be fired from the shoulder. That is the arbitrary test that the ATF is now performing to determine whether or not a braced pistol is in fact an SBR. At step 1, they ask, does the firearm have an accessory attached that provides any surface area that could be shouldered? If it does, then they move on to step 2, which is looking at the firearm holistically and determining whether or not it has design features which also indicated that it is in fact a rifle. Those additional factors are 1, whether the weapon has a weight or length consistent with the weight or length of similarly designed rifles. 2, whether the weapon has a length of pull measured from the center of the trigger to the center of the shoulder stock or other rearward accessory, component, or attachment that is consistent with similarly designed rifles. 3, whether the weapon is equipped with sights or a scope with eye relief that require the weapon to be fired from the shoulder in order to be used as designed. 4, whether the surface area that allows the weapon to be fired from the shoulder is created by a buffer tube, receiver extension, or any other accessory, component, or other rearward attachment that is necessary for the cycle of operations. 5, the manufacturer's direct and indirect marketing and promotional materials indicating the intended use of the weapon. And finally, number 6, information demonstrating the likely use of the weapon in the general community. And that is the new pistol brace and SBR redefinition by the ATF that has brought 40 to 100 million new rifles essentially into the regulatory restrictions of the NFA. And a bill like this would obviously go a long way to prevent those types of actions by the ATF because all those actions hinge on the definition of an SBR in the NFA. The ATF claims that they are acting simply under the rifle and SBR definitions in the NFA, and they obviously couldn't do that if there was no definition of an SBR included in the NFA. Now, in all reality, in my opinion, this is simply a feel-good piece of legislation. Right now, with the makeup of the House, the Senate, and the President, I'm very confident in saying that this is next to impossible of ever passing. Even if it passed through the House, so by some miracle made it through the Senate, I'm very confident saying that President Biden would never sign off on this piece of legislation. So really, it's just a feel-good piece of legislation. Maybe could it get past the House and we could kind of see where everybody's voting on this. And that is also important to see maybe how your representatives, especially some of the new representatives, are going to vote on issues like this. Yes, that's important. It could happen. But as far as actually making its way all the way through the process and being enacted, it's very unlikely. So I appreciate bills like this. I agree with them. I just wish they would be introduced when we actually had the House, Senate, and the presidency. However, I doubt that will ever actually happen because very few politicians actually want the NFA to be repealed or for SBRs to be removed from the NFA or for there to be something like national concealed carry reciprocity. In my opinion, they just introduced these to try to get more two-way voters on their side. They introduce them when they know they won't pass. They won't actually introduce them when they could be passed. And even maybe when they do, they won't actually vote in favor of them. All of a sudden they get scared, but they'll introduce them at times like this to try to win over hearts and minds, to play off the recent actions by the ATF and the pistol brace rule to win over their supporters, to act like they're actually doing something. And so they're good. We see these bills being introduced, but we need to actually be on our representatives, let them know that yes, we support bills like this, and then also push them maybe when we do have the numbers in the House, Senate, and also the presidency to actually get things like this done. So that's a breakdown of the new bill that a lot of you guys were asking me about, which is introduced to remove SBRs from the NFA's restrictions. If anything else develops on this, I will let you all know. Also, if you like this video and you would like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. As always, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach and educate more people than I could ever do on my own. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.